coming up on the pod, we lost our last remaining champion. Certainly, what I would consider the best winner of the new era and a top 25 player all time. D, voted out of Survivor Season 50. I got to have my friend Mike back on the pod. We're going to break it all down. We're going to pour one out for her. It's all next. But first, a little music from our friends at Prosper. And welcome, everybody. And I had to have my good pal Mike back recapping episode 7 of Survivor Season 50. And Mike, it was a monumental episode. We officially lost our last champion, D. Give me your thoughts.
I know. Well, Kevin, thank you for having me back. I was so excited to come back so soon. I mean, there's so much to unpack. I mean, the season just keeps getting more and more exciting. Listen, D, it was heartbreaking. I mean, I was a big fan of D. I think she is probably the best winner of the new era. I said that in our preseason talk. You know what I love and respect about D? I think she goes out with a smile on her face. I think she knows this is a game, and that is where deception and lies and all that is supposed to be happening. And I think even seeing her postseason stuff, I think she really just took it with a grain of salt and just like, you know what, she was happy to be there. She made a mark on a monumental season, and honestly, I think she might even be surprised how far she made it. The fact that as a winner she made it to jury is huge. I mean, I'm not surprised because I think D is that good, but I think going in with such a huge target on her back, the fact that she made it this far is gigantic. And I just think, listen, these last few weeks, losing Angelina, Camilla, Genevieve, now D, I'm like, this boot list is just getting tougher and tougher each week. It's been tough. So the new era is falling slowly. We've got a lot more old school lasting, which I love, the old school vibe, but some of these new school players who I wanted to last are sadly going. So don't love seeing that.
Yeah, it's almost like there's this fear, this pervasive fear going on in camp. I want to get to that, and I want to break it down a couple different ways here, because I think, when you have somebody, and if you've heard this pod, I'm a fan of D. She is a tremendous player, and she has parts of her game that remind me so much of Sarah and so much of Rob. Let's talk about the season first, and then let's talk about her legacy. They are building it up like this Charlie vote out was one of like the giant sliding doors moment in Survivor history.
Yeah.
Give it to me straight. Is Charlie getting voted off a sliding doors moment, or was Jonathan going to flip and this loyalty alliance is tight and it was just, Charlie's just kind of the MacGuffin here?
I'm so glad I think it's time. We've had a few episodes in, Kevin. Let's talk about the pregame of it all.
Let's go behind the curtain.
I think we need to. I think it's in a returning season. I know, like we have said before, like a returning season, like we'd be foolish not to acknowledge that pre-gaming is going to happen. I think production is doing a really nice job in trying to make it seem like the Charlie vote really was an impact. And I do think at the end of the day, it gave Jonathan a very nice excuse to betray Camilla and to go after D. Now, I'm not discrediting that. I'm sure it was Jonathan annoyed at that. Yes. And he was blindsided. I'm not taking that away from him. I'm sure he was annoyed. But listen, I think from hearing Christy say, Jonathan, we're cut from the same cloth. To me, it just read that conversation has happened before.
Yeah, those two look like they fell from the same tree for sure.
Yeah, it just kept being like, it almost without her saying is like, we have a deal, like we know, like we are the same type of player and people, which, like I said last week, I'm so upset by Christy because I wish that she wasn't in this, because it's so not the player that I remember her being. I could have predicted all of the other 4, but like not this one. But just even that, I think the Charlie vote couldn't have happened. Charlie could have still been there. They could have voted somebody else out. Rizzo could have gone, and Jonathan still would have went with them. I mean, I think this whole quote unquote Zoom alliance has been a looming thing that's not been talked about on the show, but people have talked about it in post-exit interviews. And apparently that was a really big thing with the Devins and Joe argument on episode 2.
Interesting.
I don't know if for the listeners, the Zoom Alliance is this alleged alliance that happened before the filming started. And what happened was when Colby went on the journey with Savannah and Mike, and then Mike drew and he had to leave, and then Savannah and Colby went against each other. Basically, like Colby talked about this alliance, and basically it was Colby, Coach, Jonathan, Stephenie, and Joe. And I think Chrissy is somehow involved. She could have been there as well. This is the alleged rumor. It's not been talked about on the show, but there's these rumblings of this existing thing happening, and Camilla's even talked about it in her exit interview, kind of just being like, in that moment I knew it was real. And listen, again, we lean into the Jonathan being betrayed with the Charlie vote, but with you saying, do I think that was as big of a impact as it was made out to be? I just don't know. I think this is a solid group who, listen, they are all aligned in their mentality. Clearly, this loyalty and alliance thing is really picking up steam, and they are all aligned in that. I think I felt like it was inevitable no matter what, and the Charlie vote just stoked the flame to make the decision even easier.
Yeah, a little bit of bad luck too, because look, if you're going to have returning player seasons, there's going to be pre-gaming. Like, it's impossible and it's easier than ever to do it. However, the non-Zoom Alliance folks got no individual power.
Yeah.
All the idols and, the steal a vote, the extra vote, the journeys, they all went to this kind of Zoom Alliance group, and it makes it very hard for the D, Camilla, Tiffany group to turn the game around because you don't have any individual power. D would have to sweep immunity challenges.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree. I think if the Teal tribe would have went to tribal at all within those first few days, I do think D, Tiffany, or Camilla. I know we got the edit of Chrissy really not getting along with everybody, but I kind of felt like no matter what, like if they would have went to tribal, I think it would have been one of the 3 New Era women who got the boot anyway. And I just think that's that. I even think I'll go so far to say, like, listen, I think the whole scene of Jonathan riling up D, it's a nice way for Jonathan to like pat his back and say he got her going, and this is his doing, that he got D out of the game because he riled her up. And I thought it was very shocking that he said like D's a very fiery person who's really emotional. From 45, I would not say that about D. I think she's very level-headed, but I think it just was very shocking for me to hear that. And I just think it was his way in the confessional to kind of claim that he made a move against D, when I just think she was annoyed, and everybody has the emotions. And I think D knew, listen, she's the last winner. It seemed it was almost unanimous upon arrival that they were going after D no matter what. So I don't know. I just think everybody wanted to get D out, and D didn't really help herself with the Rizo scenario and the idol. That, I think, was her nail in her coffin. I think she had this loyalty and alliance group 100% going after her. But the moment she proved that she betrayed Rizzo's trust, that right there, I think sealed her fate.
Well, and Emily at the center again of an information share. I've defended Emily. I've defended her because I think, in the moment, right, you're brokering information a lot, but man, has she nailed a couple people with divulging information. And
hysterical. I mean, it's nonstop, Kevin. I mean, she has done it to various people this season. It's like, anybody want to trust her? It's like, why?
Yeah.
Because she just tells everything to everyone.
There's moments in games to, you own your own narrative and you're the hero of your own story. The one thing I would critique D for is if you're going to share information, you got to lock people in.
Mm-hmm.
And she needed to lock Emily in and lock Christian in. And maybe she thought she did, but she clearly didn't.
Yep.
And then the other side of that is, if you're Emily, like, make a move.
Yeah.
You're sharing information that, you're not, she knows that by telling Rizzo, that Emily knows that when she says, oh, I heard about your idol from D, she knows she's causing some trouble for D. Make a move. She's so scared to make a move in this game.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Just the way she like nonchalantly like went up to Rizzo and was like, well, how many people know about your idol? And it was like,
yeah, it was so awkward.
It was just awkward. And I don't like. I like to think Emily's a smart person, and I do think Emily's a smart person. But is that just a social awkward where she has just been like vomiting at the mouth, like word vomit? Like it really is. She's done this multiple times this season. So
Yeah,
is it organized chaos? I don't know, but I will say I've been entertained by it. I mean, she's
very entertaining.
interesting.
And she has the widest eyes ever.
Oh
Like when
yes,
somebody pitches an idea, her eyes are like,
I know.
it's
It's so
crazy.
true. It's so true.
So pour one out for D tonight. I want
Yes.
to, it's interesting. She got a lot of flack for calling. I think she said Charlie's the dumbest player in Survivor history.
Yes.
But I want to pressure test something with you because, if you heard my pregame,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a huge fan of Charlie's game.
Mm-hmm.
When he lost, did he play 45 or 46?
46. That
46.
was the one season. Remember, I said that's actually the one season I really didn't watch. So it's interesting. I want to hear your perspective.
He never sealed the deal that season. He never, his alliance partner Maria was the dominant force. And when they got her out of the game, Charlie never won an immunity. He didn't make fire. He didn't pitch particularly well to the jury, and so we lost.
Yeah.
I don't have Charlie. I don't have Charlie in my top 50 players all time.
No.
So I want to pressure test with you. Am I being too harsh? Would you put Charlie ahead of any of these people? Jonathan Penner.
No.
Yeah, ma'am.
No.
Michelle. Shout out Hal, New Jersey.
Michelle, let's say something, just some justice for Michelle here. Michelle has never been voted out of this game.
Winning a third place, pretty good.
Like, come on. I mean, that's a far no.
So before we give D too much flack for not wanting to play with Charlie, and look, some comments are made flippantly. I thought it was funny, but that's just me. I have a pretty high bar.
I think if we learned anything from this season, it's Charlie is highly emotional. I mean, he was very upset about, like, he made it his goal to get Rizzo out on information he didn't even know was necessarily true because he didn't watch the season. It's just made it his goal that he was so offended. Like, he's still so upset over Maria not voting for him.
Yeah.
It's just this high emotion. And I actually just saw an exit interview, like D casually like reaching out to Charlie after it's been like, hey, are we okay?
Oh, that's cool.
He ignored her messages.
Oh, seriously? Get over it.
Yeah, until like eventually he's like, you really hurt my feelings. And it's just like, it's a game. It's supposed to be lighthearted and funny. And she made it about a thing he did. And it was an emotional response to a thing she did. And she left a funny confessional. I don't know. I just think it's just, at the end of the day, this is a game. You bring your personality into this, but you are a version of yourself and you're making a TV show. It's a funny comment in a confessional. It's tongue in cheek. Get over it.
Yeah. So is D the best winner of the new era?
I think so. I mean, when you think about all of them, listen, this is hard. I think there are a lot of really great contenders. I think we should maybe even do a podcast one of these days at Post 50 about like ranking our new era winners, because I actually think that could be a really nice, it's a good topic to break down. I would put her at the top. I will say this. Within the episode that Kyle played, Kyle is up there in a new era winner for me. He's definitely top 3. He's two or 3, I would say. I think if I was able to watch him play a little bit more this season, I do think he could have possibly established himself as 1, but we didn't get to see it. I don't think D loses that title. I think she was strategic. She checked all the boxes: social, charming, challenge threat. I just think D was strategic. I don't think she played a bad game on 50 at all. I think she made it to jury, but I think so. I think there's no way you put anyone really above her in the new era in terms of winning games.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was kind of pressure testing her versus Kyle, her versus Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
In particular, those 3.
Yeah.
I like their games a lot. I have to rewatch 49. Mm-hmm. Savannah was really good in 49. She was taking a lot of, she was under the gun a lot.
Yeah. You named my 4. Those are the top 4 that I would think. I think D is is a solid 1 for me. And then I honestly think the other 3, Savannah, Rachel, and Kyle, honestly, there's arguments to move any of them around, in my opinion.
Yeah. Where I was thinking about where D would rank all time, and I kind of put her in the mix right now with somewhere in that like Denise Stapley, John Cochran grouping,
Yeah.
champions who have played twice, and I have her right between those two. I loved Denise Stapley's game. I thought she had a dominant win, and then when she came back in Winners at War, she was really good that season.
Yeah.
She was probably, outside of Tony, who obviously won that season,
Mhm.
she played incredibly well and
Yeah.
managed to actually make Ben look pretty good on the island.
Yes.
And Probst loves Cochran, and I
Yeah.
think that inflates his ranking a little bit.
Mhm.
But I think D lands somewhere a little ahead of Cochran and a little bit behind Denise.
Yeah, I would say I definitely think D goes above Cochran, not discrediting her second time playing. Obviously, Parv is my fave, so that her second time playing was her winning season. So, um, I I just think Dee's game was a touch more dynamic than Cochran's. I think she really played all ends and was able to be a little bit more in control than I think Cochran was that season. Not saying he wasn't. I'd put them right around the same place. I wouldn't put D up there with like a Parv, a Sandra, a Rob, a Kim. I would not put her near Kim Spradlin, but like I think she's a Tony, obviously. But I wouldn't put her like low. I would say she's in the 30s to 20s area. D.
Yeah, very interesting. Really distinguished herself. This was a weird season because, the two people who really have played hard for the first 15 days here are Christian and D. Like you could see it. They are going almost like, to use a horse racing analogy, they have broke from the gate and
Mm-hmm.
they are going as hard as they can. And there's still another 3 quarters to go here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where, I think just by the nature of how the vote outs have gone, they've gone pretty slow
Mm-hmm.
with 24 people in the
Yeah.
game. If this were a different season and her alliance of 3 or 4 people were more impactful, right? When there's
Yeah.
17 people left, 4 people cannot swing the
Mm-hmm.
game. I think this outcome would have been a little different for her.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I loved her final tribal too, taking a
Yep.
shot, not going, she was not going to go down quietly.
Yeah.
Her getting up, I actually thought she had the votes. When she got up, I'm like, oh my God, she's getting coach out of this game.
And she didn't give up. She never gave up. And I think it's interesting you said like 2 people who've been playing from the like nonstop and start are Christian and D. And I think they've been dealt very different hands this season. I think Christian had no choice but to be playing hard from the beginning because he was at tribal every time, where D wasn't. But I just think D knew her back was up against the wall, being that she was this winner returning. So she was playing hard from even not going to tribal. And yeah, I just loved her final fight for it. I think I give her credit. She didn't lay down and die. She got up. She tried to start trouble, stir things up, and I give her a lot of credit for it. So
Also smart enough to play her shot in the dark.
yes, I think that was great too.
So you hinted to it. Let's pivot a little bit. How about Rizzo? In a season that's been a little bit, I'll say it this way. All the producers were talking about how joyful the season was going to be, and it's really been some cranky players over pre-gaming.
Mm-hmm.
How about Rizzo? Smart enough to cut D loose and read that situation.
I feel like this is the Rizzo fan club over here. I've said this in the past. I'm going to say it again. I have been blown away by Rizzo. I will be the one to say I made a big mistake when we talked and I had preseason predictions and I had said that do I think Rizzo, I believe the question you asked was will Rizzo make an impact like in season 50 and will he return based on his performance in 50? And I had said I think he's going out early and I think that Rizzo's performance in 49 will establish him and have him come back. I have never been happier to be wrong about the fact that he is not an early out. And not only that, I have loved watching Rizzo every single week. I'm blown away but that I, as somebody who's been a fan of this game, who wants to root for the classic people, I'm genuinely rooting for somebody on season 49. I can't believe it. He just is outstanding. He is a character who I love watching confessionals. He is an amazing, amazing player. He is very smart. Apparently, and D's exit interview recently, like apparently Rizzo the last few days has been very sick as well, like not getting
Really?
God's food. Yeah. So like
Wow.
he's still playing this game. He is I love we said this last week. I love the relationship with Suri and Ozzy, and I love that we have a name for it now. Suri's Wizard of Oz. I mean, come on.
All-time great name.
Brilliant. Brilliant. But like his read on what to do with the finding out the Emily info, not freaking out, kind of just then like casually going to D and like calling it out, not making it like I'm coming for you, just playing it very cool. And then with the coach scenario, sitting there and being like, okay, coach, like feeding to coach's ego. I mean, going up to coach, I mean, come on. Coach lives to be this literal coach. And I think he sees this 25-year-old kid, and coach thinks that he can manipulate Rizzo because he's this impressionable youth that he can take under his wing and make this honor and integrity type. And it's hysterical, the commentary of Rizzo being like, thanks for inviting me into a spot that was replacing Colby. Like,
I know. It
okay.
was so awkward.
It was so like, if I was to give a star of the episode, this episode, it's Rizzo. He was coaching coach. He's saying to coach in the tribe, we don't slay dragons at camp. We slay dragons at tribal. Like, why are you saying this in front of Devins? Like, he is the one in the middle. Like, it was just brilliant. I just am so blown away by him and his prowess. And mind you, he has not even watched his own season.
No.
This is him going on his gut instinct of how he played last time. He hasn't had that advantage to look at how he came off, look at how other people are perceiving him. He's going in and he is just crushing it. And I just absolutely adore Rizzo. And I want him to go very far, if not win this game.
He has a shot. I have to admit, this was the most impressive I've seen him. He had 3 moments. One, I mean, coach is basically like, so I just got broken up with, so now we can go out. Yeah, thanks. It's amazing. You know, you could be the 4th horseman in the alliance because we just lost our 4th horseman.
Yeah.
And then, and I don't, sometimes I wonder how faithful the edit is because even coach can't imagine that he is so lost that he doesn't know Christian and Devins are aligned.
You don't know with that man. I mean, I think he is so in his own world, coach, that you just don't know.
But Rizzo talking him down, you know, the calming influence, amazing. And seeing Rizzo and, you know, the way him and Suri were plotting. And this is the nuance. And this is, you know, he didn't sit down and say, we got to get D. He sat down and said, you know, D knows about my idol, you know, and I asked her about it. And I said, why were you talking to other people about my idol? Because I thought we were playing together. And he didn't say we got to get her. He said, what do you think of that, Suri? And he's like, he just laid the facts out and basically led her to where he wanted to go, which was to get D out of the game. This is good for all of us.
Yeah. And I think you have somebody, they are such a perfect balance, the two of them. I love the two of them together. Like watching this.
Well, Rizzo is as bad in challenges as she is, so she doesn't have to worry about that.
They are completely messed up when it comes to actually winning an individual immunity, but fingers crossed that one of them do eventually. And they're just, I love their relationship. And I'll say this, Rizzo is not saying things to other people that Suri tells him. They are lock and key with each other, which I'm loving. They're really not betraying each other's trust. And I love that. And I think it's so important. And I just don't know if they're not showing it. I don't know if anybody sees this. I don't know if people are linking Rizzo and Suri at all. Like, obviously, we see these pairs, these obvious groupings. I know we know about the Wizard of Oz, but I don't think people see that Rizzo and Suri are so in lockstep that it's really interesting.
It's hard to tell. You know, honestly, if you're in camp at all and you see those two swinging on the hammock together, I mean, it's like, what's going on here? This looks weird. So I don't know how they'd miss it. But then again, with, you know, at the time, 14 people on the beach, who knows? And it sounds like they're all kind of talking to everyone anyway, which is, so you can fly a little more under the radar.
Yeah.
So before we get completely off of D getting voted out, last kind of point to this and last angle, where does Tiffany go from here?
I think This is tough. I mean, it's. I think she's in a really rough spot. I
I
think
agree.
also finding out that you are the backup vote in case D did not go home is also not easy. By the way, loved her confessional when she
That's
wrote it.
great.
Every moment, loved every second of it, and believe every word that she said. Here's what I think is her best bet. When you watch that tribal, actually, I'm chronically online, so there is actually when the Tiffany votes come up, Sari actually like rolls her eyes a little bit. And I think her best bet is to go to Sari.
I
I
agree.
think she goes to Sari, she starts to get some numbers in her side and be like, Sari, like, what's going on? Like, really? Is this what's happening? And I think trying to get the numbers against the coach crew, other people. I think she can, and I think she has a strong chance of not being the easy layup vote again next. I think people aren't going to want to take the Tiff was the collateral damage in case D plays it, but I think now that D's gone, Tiff is not as much of a threat, so I don't think people are going to go after her. So I think if she lays low but goes towards the Suri side of things and let Suri cook a little bit, she can last a little bit longer, Tiff.
Yeah, I look back at 34, and it's not lost on Cerie that if she has the opportunity to take a young African American woman under her wing,
Love.
much like with
Yes, Michaela. Yes, yes.
Michaela, sorry,
Yes.
she might be able to convince Cerie to do that and just swing the next vote maybe toward like Aubry.
Yep.
And if she can get through one more vote, all of a sudden, and Cerie likes to have numbers. She's very sharp with that.
Mhm.
She can potentially get to a pathway where maybe she's the fourth in this Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. I think it's possible. I think Tiff's been playing a lot with the new school, and I think she needs to open herself up to be a little bit more now that the new school numbers are dwindling. I think to open herself up to a little bit more of the old school crowd and going with the Aussies. And listen, she had a good relationship with Aubry, so maybe does she go to Aubry and them? I don't know. I think Tiff is dynamic, and I really, like I said, 46 was not a season I watched. I'm really enjoying Tiff. Like
Yeah.
I really am. Now that she's actually getting confessionals and she's actually getting like we're seeing her on the island, I'm loving her personality. I'm loving her. I thought the way she came back to camp was really poised and brilliant. I think just, hey guys, I'm upset, but like she didn't flip out, she didn't cause a scene, but she's like, I'm angry, but like let me process this. And I think built a lot of respect with everybody else at the camp that she's pretty level headed. So I think she's got her head in the game and I'm excited to see what she can do.
Yeah, me too. And I think if she can get through one more vote, maybe even steer the vote, toward the Christian Emily Devins alliance, right? Just get that loyalty alliance looking at somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, if you can get yourself down to 11,
Mm-hmm.
11's kind of a key number when you have a tight five,
Yeah.
right? In the Zoom alliance sounds like it's a tight five.
Yeah.
So she's got to survive a couple more votes here.
Yep. Agreed.
All right. You okay if we pivot away from,
Let's do it.
I could probably go another half hour just on the impacts of D getting voted out.
But
All
we
right.
got to move on.
We got to move on. So let's talk about Stephenie going on the journey.
Okay.
The journey itself, I thought was interesting. It is basically, we've seen that challenge in individual immunity before, where they put a bucket of water over the player. You have to hold your arm, another torture challenge, right? Hold your arm over your head. And if basically you drop your arm, the bucket drops on you.
I mean, an iconic, as a Parvati super fan, an iconic Parv challenge. I mean,
Well, so it's funny. I wrote this down and I was thinking about it. The all-time torture challenge champions, definitely Parv. Savannah's great, and
Savannah's
I think we saw four of them in this episode with Christian, Ozzy, Stephenie, and D. All great in these torture challenges.
and ironically, Parv is the one that dislocated Stephenie's shoulder. So,
I know, I know. Got a little flashback
yeah.
too to that, like
Which,
that.
okay, so here's what I'll say about that whole thing. I have some I don't know if you had a question, but I do have just thoughts around the whole thing.
No, I was happy though. I was happy to see Stephenie have something good happen to her.
I agree. Listen, I was back in my day, I was such a Steph fan. I love Stefan Palau. I loved her on Guatemala. I was devastated when she got voted out of Heroes versus Villains because I was just back in the day, like I just loved her. And funny enough, her vote out in Heroes versus Villains, I have a Heroes buff because before the season, I was like, I'm rooting for the Heroes. I love Steph. And ironic how all that happened. When they voted out Stephenie, I was like, I'm rooting for the villains. And I fell in love with Parv. And I loved Parv on 16, but season 20 for me is Parv's like number one season. Her Heroes vs. Villains season is where my heart lies with her.
The Double Idol is one of the all-time classics.
The number one all-time classic for me. The best. But this
The
isn't about
fact that
Parv,
she
but I can
used
talk about Parv forever.
Russell's idol right in front of him is great.
Iconic. I mean, that is the type of villain that I like to see. So I will say this, the nostalgia in me, looking back at season 20, the fact that Steph went on this challenge, and I think, listen, did I think it was too long that we just are watching? Back and forth like 5 times. I'm like, okay, can we get like, let's see it. Let's do a little bit, even like start the challenge, go back to camp, show us a conversation, come back to it. We're just like watching water drop for like, literally, I'm not even kidding, like probably like 4 or 5 minutes.
And it was literally water.
I love the flashback of her on Palau and her in 20 getting the shoulder dislocated. I love that. Listen, that's nostalgia. I didn't need to see another like 20 minutes of her like, I'm in pain, it hurts. All I keep thinking to myself and pushing through. I think we heard that for 3-4 minutes. I'm like, can we just let's get on with it.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think would have made this challenge a little bit more exciting is I wish they didn't tell her it was an hour. I think
kept her going for as long as necessary.
Make it an hour. No, but make it an hour, but don't tell her it's an hour, because then it's a psychological thing. Then it's like, when is this going to end? Is this going to be 2 hours? I don't know how long it is. She could be counting in her head. She could be counting the time. Like, it's a lot more of a psychological like test, like if you can do it or not when you know there's an end point.
Yeah.
When you have like a timed ending. But if you don't tell her that it's going to be an hour long, you kind of then start thinking, is this worth it? My shoulder hurts. Could I be going for another like 2 hours? I don't think I can do this. Like, I think that would have added a lot more interesting dynamic to it instead of just kind of a cut and dry, like you have to make it to an hour.
That's a great point. It was also interesting, the edit, because you got a sense for how quiet these things really are, because when they showed the bucket drop, it was kind of from a weird angle, where it was almost like a side profile. No music was playing. It was quiet, and it just happens. It's like it was a boring challenge followed by a really boring bucket drop.
I know. And not an overly exciting advantage. A steal a vote, it's like, okay.
You did get some classic Suri, though, once you got back to the beach.
The best. I loved that so much. And I think just goes to show, like, this is so Suri. And listen, I think there's a lot to be said about this is Stephenie and Suri's first time playing on the beach together this season. Like, they've not been on the same beach.
Yeah.
They have history. I mean, this is their 4th show doing together.
Is it really?
Yeah, they did. Wow. Well, and I think the one that people don't know about is actually probably the most telling of why Suri read this scenario. They did Heroes versus Villains together, started in the same tribe. Obviously, Traders they did together. And they did Snake in the Grass, which was
interesting.
So Snake in the Grass, you know what Snake in the Grass is?
No, but this is the extra insights you get here.
There you go. So just a little bit about Snake in the Grass. What it was is it's a one episode. It's just a one episode thing where they put 4 people out into the wild, and one person is like the snake in the grass, kind of like the trader or the mole. And
interesting.
The whole time they're trying to survive in the wilderness together and like do challenges. And it was Suri, Stephenie, Rachel Riley from Survivor, and from Big Brother, and Janelle from Big Brother.
Oh my gosh.
Female legends of the game. And Stephenie was the snake in the grass.
Oh,
and
wow.
She was doing these things. She had to be lying to them the whole time. And everybody, at the end, everyone voted for Stephenie to be the snake in the grass. So Suri, Janelle, and Rachel wound up winning. And they were all just kind of laughing at it because they were like, we could tell you were lying the whole time. So Suri has firsthand experience knowing what Stephenie looks like when she is lying. Like, spent a full time in the wilderness where she lied the whole time. Right there, she knows.
That's how she knew. She was very confident.
Very. And I mean, Stephenie didn't make it up. It was so obvious to me that she
Why,
was.
why
Sorry.
do they do this? Just if you're going to lie, just lie about what you got. Tell them
Yeah.
you got a double immunity idol, or tell them you got an advantage, but you're not going to tell them what it is. Nobody believes the stories anymore. You might as well make something up.
100%. I just thought the 30 minutes was not that creative. Well, I shouldn't say that. It was a creative idea to say the 30 minutes you keep your vote. Suri clocked it and read it in a second. I think that's what just makes me love Suri so much. And I think this also goes to, like, I'm sure Stephenie and Suri have had a conversation pre-game. They've worked together. They've had a relationship. Stephenie really trusted Suri on the traders. I think the reason Stephenie got so far is because Suri was a trader. And I don't think there's too many hard feelings around that. But I think it was really just hysterical to me that Stephenie's like, you know what? I just felt like it was a weight lifted. Suri's somebody that I trust. And I'm like, and then Suri goes right to Rizo. And it was hysterical. But then again, that didn't take it anywhere. This duo is lock solid.
They didn't tell Ozzy, I noticed.
No, which I loved. It was just so good. And I love that Suri's comment, just she's sitting on the hammock. She goes, and of course I got to tell Rizo. And it was just, I loved it. It was so good.
All right, moving on. I want to talk about the immunity challenge. Really cool setup. Mm-hmm. I was bummed last week with the torture challenge that, because it was such an epic moment eliminating 3 people. Mm-hmm. I wanted to see more. This week we got more. Yeah. We've seen the giant boulder in Survivor before. Mm-hmm. Jonathan finally met his match. This is the first thing Jonathan hasn't just basically picked up and flung across the challenge course. Mm-hmm. You got your wish. Schoolyard pick.
Yeah. I wanted to see it.
I know. I was thinking, and none of that, the weirdest group of people ever grouped.
The schoolyard pick confused me because, like, Jonathan, and then I read the people on Jonathan's team. I go, how did they do the schoolyard pick? Did the other team pick everybody first and then Jonathan got left? He picked all these people. It was just, I want to go back. I want the data. How did this team get picked? Because it just didn't seem like the team that Jonathan would select.
It made no sense. How did Joe, Devins, and Ozzy all end up on the same team?
I was in shock. The same way I go, what? It was literally, I was in shock by it. So we got our schoolyard pick, but I would have liked to see the details behind it.
Yeah. And look, couple shout outs. I'm a big believer that luck is the residue of hard work. Mm-hmm. Tiffany is amazing in these challenges. Absolutely whipped through the locks again. Almost turned the challenge around for that purple team.
I love her. She almost like kind of did that walk off. She like that, and she's like pointing to the side. I loved it.
When I saw it breaking down, I was like, you could take it to the bank here. Emily is going to be at those locks making tortured faces, and Tiffany's going to be done. And that's exactly what happened. And then finally, playoff beard Christian nails a puzzle. Really? It was close. You could tell Probst was so excited.
Yeah.
Like, because Chrissy and Coach are good at puzzles. Mm-hmm. Christian and Emily have had a rough season, but traditionally good at puzzles. And that one, it looked like it came down to about 5 seconds.
It came down to the wire, but they did it. Finally, Christian got a puzzle
this season. So they win the reward. Great reward, by the way. Chinese takeout and brownies. Tremendous.
It was a great reward.
I can't believe, and this has been a trend all season, why there's no dynamic power at these rewards. I mean, this is like the season.
A note to be at the bottom of like a takeout container. I thought the same thing, Kevin. I was like, can we give something?
This is the season of, I kept flashing back to 47. I remember the season where Saul fell asleep and there was like the reward right in front of him.
Yep.
And it's just like this season, like literally we're going to give you food but don't go looking for anything.
They did in 48. Eva got one.
Eva
got it. Like, and why are we not doing this? I'm just so confused, but it is what it is.
And then we get to the individual immunity portion where the winning teal tribe has to do another torture challenge. Mm-hmm. This one essentially holding these giant bamboo. It looks like they said it looks like a boom mic, and it did, with a little ball balanced on the end of a circle. Set up really well for D, Ozzy. I think Stephenie would have done better, but she was clearly gassed after being tortured into holding her arm over her head all day to begin with.
I know. So I was like, this isn't boding well for Stephenie. But yeah, D, when I'll be honest, when she dropped it, I was like, I think she's cooked tonight. I
Not
thought that was the moment she was done. But it was nice to see Ozzy win. Ozzy, I got my heart happy. I'm Ozzy is growing more and more on me each week, Kevin. I've
I
got to
won one.
yeah, he won a challenge. I'm enjoying Ozzy a lot, so I'm rooting for him.
I didn't realize 8th individual immunity win in his career,
Yep.
second to Boston Rob, who has 9. And Ozzy, he still can summon greatness in the moment, but man, did he look not rusty from a skill standpoint, but man, did his body look rusted when he was
Yes.
walking over to get that necklace. Like
Yes.
he looked like he needed like physical therapy
Yes. He's
or a
not the
hyperbaric
Ozzy of
chamber.
his past, but he's still got some of it.
Yeah, a little bit. Also, it helps sometimes in those challenges because it does, going head to head with Jonathan and Joe and anything that requires strength, like forget it. Those two guys are just beasts.
Yeah, agreed.
So good individual immunity challenge. I agree with you. I thought that you nailed it. Like Dee knew she had to win that.
Yeah. 100%.
So we flash forward. We know now Ozzy's got immunity. We get to this 14-person, coach calls it herding cats. And the number of mistakes, coach basically telling Devins to leave half of his own alliance out of the vote. The 7-4 split, which was the most complicated. You could tell they all like Tiffany. Nobody wants to vote for Tiffany. I'm not writing Tiffany's name down. You write Tiffany's name down.
Mm-hmm.
Incredibly complicated to the point where it almost looks like coach is going to go overboard and put himself at risk.
Yes. I think coach is just, I think I said this to you before, Kevin, before we did the pod. I said it last week, and I'm going to be kind about this. Coach was casted as a villain on Heroes versus Villains for a reason. And I think Coach is still the same person. And I'm being reminded again and again that Coach he's not a fun villain to me. He's not. Like, Parv is a fun villain. She's devious. She can be conniving. I enjoy a villain that lies. I enjoy a villain. That is what villainy is. Coach is ironically was on the villains tribe and will forever be known and continues to establish himself as a villain.
You didn't find his haikus to be fun.
Listen, they were hysterical because we're all just like, what is this? But he's making haikus. I want to remind him what show he's on. Like, who are you? The one thing that absolutely killed me this episode was Coach standing there be like, not on season 50 are we going to have this type of behavior. We need honor and integrity. And it's like, who do you think you are?
I know.
Emily had a perfect confessional. It's like, who do you think you are to tell us that this is not this way that we're supposed to play this season? What show do you think you're on, Coach? Manipulation and lies. This is in the fabric of the game of Survivor. There was part of me that's like, are they going to go after him? But I don't know. I don't see him getting much jury votes if he does make the final at this point.
That's the thing. He's not building a jury to win.
No.
Rizzo
23 or 22.
Rizzo doesn't want him out of the game. Rizzo wants to take him to the end. Rizzo's like, I'm going to get votes if I take him to the end.
Yes, 100%.
Ozzy's thinking the same thing. Ozzy can't stand coach, but the last thing he wants is coach out of the game right now.
I know.
I might be able to beat somebody here.
Agreed. That's when I like, there's a lot of discourse like, why didn't they just get coach out? And it's like, I think the players need to, 14's a lot of people. That's a lot of people to make a move that early and like disrupt this other alliance. And I think you then piss other people off. I think you then establish yourself as a strategic threat a little bit early on in the merge. So it's a little bit like, let's go with the flow. Let's give coach what he wants. Let's get D out. We did the 7-3 vote, a 7-4 vote perfectly. Like, it really worked out exactly. And I think coach's ego will now be fed. He's in control. He's making this happen. And I think you got to strike sooner than later. I don't know if you take coach immediately, but I think you get one of his loyalty and alliances out sooner than later.
Well, so here's the big question, because we've seen this before. All tight loyalty alliances eventually crack. In 49, Kyle made the one move. And then if you go back to 34, I could still remember, and nobody was more smug than Debbie that season in Game Changers, and her tight six. And Sarah decided she did not want to be playing banjo in basically Brad Culpepper's 6-person band.
Yeah.
So the question is, who of the 5 is going to flip? You've got Coach, Joe, Jonathan, Chrissy, Stephenie. One of them is going to flip.
See, Kevin, I'm actually going to go so far to say is I don't think one of them are going to flip. I actually think they've just got to get somebody sooner than later. I don't see them flipping. I actually think so right now you've got, if we're taking Loyalty and Alliance 5 and then everyone else, the everyone else is 8. It does outnumber the other group. So I am hopeful that within this vote or next vote, they try to at least take a hit at that alliance for one. And I do think the easy vote is Stephenie.
Well, so I was going to say the opposite.
Okay.
And maybe I'm saying the same thing, actually, because I think Stephanie's the one who flips.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't think it's intentional, but you hear the bias. It's Coach's Knights of the Round Table.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she has a good enough relationship with Cirie that I think she knows there's a lifeboat there waiting for her with Cirie, Rizo, and Ozzy. She was good with Ozzy.
Mm-hmm.
And why would you want to be potentially the 5th person in a 5-person alliance?
Yeah,
when you could punch out of there.
I agree. I can see that. Here's my view. I think that kind of like how when Savannah went to the journey and she came back, it's the same type of thing. She probably has an advantage. We don't know what it is. I think if the other 8 want to get one of them out, the threat of that advantage is going to hold on. And I actually do think Cirie's going to betray her.
Really? Oh, I'd be so sad. Well, at least if Cirie betrays her, I won't have to see any more of those foot shots of Stephenie.
Please. But I kind of am here for it. I mean,
I know you are. You love the backstabbing.
But that's what I want. Like, this is the fun backstabbing. It's like, yeah, but listen, Cirie and Stephenie aren't like best friends. They've played games together, but like they've not worked together and they're not in the same alliance. So like,
no, it's true.
I think it'll be interesting to see, but I do think Cirie could plant seeds. I just think Stephenie's the easiest person to get out of that group. I secretly hope it's Jonathan, but because I think you can say Jonathan's a physical threat, so get him out, but he hasn't won any individual immunities yet, so we'll see. But
he's another one, though. He's not a threat. I am not convinced he will present well to the jury. And so in that regards, he's not scary like some of these other folks are. Is there a pathway where, I think about we talked last week about trios. Mm-hmm. I like trios because I think the number 3 works well. Is there a pathway where the Cirie, Ozzy, Rizo trio and the Emily, Christian, Devins trio come together and start taking down that Loyalty Alliance?
I hope so. I really hope so. I do think there's a possibility. I think the key is the Emily and Ozzy relationship. There's a lot of overlap. There really is. I mean, you've got a lot of people who work together. Also, I was always like to look at the numbers and the perspective. Do you know what's really interesting?
What's
After
that?
The first 2 episodes, the original Orange tribe, is it I always forget the names of the tribe.
Kahlo? I think it was Kahlo, but you just say Orange.
All 6 are still there.
Are they really?
Yes. I was like, wow, there has not been a single person voted out from that original tribe since Savannah.
That's interesting.
Cirie, Christian, Emily, Ozzy, Devins, and Joe are all still there.
Oh, wow. All still there. And they were the ones who could not win an individual tribal immunity.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think I noticed when I saw all the orange backpacks walking down, I go, wait a minute, are they all still there? And it's interesting. So there's a lot of Cirie has worked with Emily. Don't forget, it was episode 2, but Cirie was with the Emily, Christian, and Devins alliance at the beginning. So I think there is a potential for that overlap that I could see. I think Aubry's a real wild card in that equation that I just don't know what's going to happen there with her. But I could see those 6 working together and making a move.
I hope you're right. I certainly think it adds some spice to the game. It even balances it off. If you can pick off a couple members of that alliance, all of a sudden, if you get 3-3-3 and then Aubry and Stephenie are still in the game, that's just a very exciting final 11.
I'm going to try to give an ounce of positivity here to my feelings towards Coach. Okay, Kevin, because we always like to try to we're becoming more candid as we talk on these pods, Kevin. As we get further, I think people can see we're really loosening up and giving our
let it fly.
honest opinions. But I'm gonna try to frame this positively. And I was reflecting on this.
This should be an interesting plane you're trying to land here.
It is, but I think hear me out. And I re-looked it up. About a year and a half ago, maybe even 2 years ago, there was an article that went out about Jeff saying that Survivor isn't into casting villains anymore. I don't know if you remember that article coming out. It really caused a big scene online. A lot of people, including myself, were just like, Jeff, like that was like the best season of the show was Heroes versus Villains. So many iconic players like a Parv, like a Rob, like a Sandra, Russell, like all these iconic players were villains at their core.
I remember the article. This was the Brandon Hant response. Remember when Brandon went nuts?
Yes.
And then Jeff, he kind of was like, yeah, we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah. Well, 100%. And I just think there's this whole narrative of like, we don't listen, the new era has become very, and listen, it's special. It's great. Like about like everybody's journeys and like everybody, like there's not a lot of villains in the new era. There's not. I talk a lot and I joke about how I don't like Joe as much. Joe's not a villain. Joe is not a villain. I don't necessarily like the way Joe plays because I was bored by it. But like Joe is not a villain, I would say. What as I've taken this in as much as I am riled up by Coach, after hearing Jeff Probst say that we're not going to have villains again, to have this man on my screen, it is reminding me how important having villains are. I am actively emotionally rooting against Coach this season. Like I want Coach to lose more than I want Sari to win at this point, like in my heart, like honestly. And this is what I feel we've been missing in the last 10 seasons. I think we need these polarizing villains. And so I'll put that spin on it. Coach is a true villain through and through. He will always be. But we need them. We need the villains. And you can see me getting worked up because I get frustrated watching Coach, but I take a step back and I go, this is the invigoration that I've been missing in the new era at times. I like this and having these opinions. Do I prefer more fun villains like Parv that I want to root for? Yes. But are we all going to have people that we don't want to root for? Yes. When I didn't love 48 and I was let down by Joe, I was like, that's not how I'm feeling. I'm not like lethargic about this. I'm passionate about wanting Coach out. And that's the type of villain that makes this show great. So I will give Coach that. And I hope that makes sense. Did I land plane, Kevin?
You did. It's incredibly well said. You need to have people in the game that invoke emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't, like, what's the point?
100%.
The idea, it is the journey.
Mm-hmm.
And part of what makes the journey good is people overcoming each other, people outlasting each other, or maybe people not outlasting each other. And you're happy about that because of the type of player that they are. I always, and I know enough people who don't like Coach, I always circle back to think that I find the shtick very entertaining.
I'm sure.
I would love to meet him in person to see. Everyone has said the shtick is real.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
And there's something to be said for somebody who really believes what they're selling.
Yes.
And I could tell, look, Stephenie is not wrong. Like, it is difficult to try and play with somebody who wants you to play his way, but he won't consider playing your way.
Yes.
And essentially your way is without integrity. And that's kind of where I get off the train. Yes. Like, you own your game and I'll own my game. But I mean, you're 100% right. Like, the game is better with people like that in it.
Yeah. So it's reminded me that this type of player that we haven't seen in a while is what we need. So I will give it to coach in that aspect. It has reinvigorated my passion even more so for these characters and the show in terms of my investment in the players and the outcome.
You hit the nail on the head, though. The last 10 years, they have restocked the cabinet. Like, there are a lot of interesting players I'd like to see again.
Yes.
I'd love to see, Richard from 40 again. I thought he was great.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd love to see Caleb, shot in the dark Caleb, who,
Yeah.
the first person, some of these players are fantastic, but they have not restocked with a lot of villains. Unless you like Carolyn Widger, I don't consider her a villain. Like,
No,
she's just somebody who doesn't have a filter.
She's a
Yeah.
character. I mean, someone maybe consider like Shan from 41 a villain, like you said, Ricard. Like,
Is it Ricard or Richard?
I want to say it was Ricard.
It was Ricard. Okay.
I think some people might have said Q was a villain from what I heard from 46, but like he's more chaotic. Like you said, there's no real villains. Like there really isn't. Like, and we need villains sometimes on these shows. You need the foil to these. Listen, are there amazing stories from the new era and amazing people and amazing players? Yes. I've loved hearing some of these stories. It's incredible. But like we haven't had this in a while. So it's nice. It's nice to see it again. I'm feeling young again, Kevin. I go back.
Ironically, Camilla would have fit right in that late 20s, early 30s, range with Tyson and Tony and that crew.
Yeah.
She would have been great. She'll fit right in.
Yeah, she would have.
All right. Before I let you go, we have to talk about one more thing because I had a serious reaction to this. What is Aubry doing? I cannot understand. First of all, everybody knows where all the idols are. So the idea that an idol that everybody knows about is not an idol is silly. Secondly, you burned an idol just because the other players wanted you to burn it. Like, what are you doing?
It's I don't know what Aubry has been doing this season. I really don't. I think almost every move she has made has been not good. Coming back and saying that she forgot to play it, like
terrible.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I'm at a loss, honestly. And for her to not be smart enough to then just keep it, like,
yeah, keep it for another week. What are you doing?
They're not voting for you, so like, why are you? Okay, then they try to vote you out next week. Then you play it next week.
They're going to try and vote you out anyway.
The irony is she's doing everything that Rizzo is probably sitting there like, what are you doing? Like everything that Rizzo did in 49 is not what she is doing because it was just crazy. I just think she's playing so sloppy. I don't know. I have loved, I shouldn't say love. I've liked Aubry's game in the past. I really loved her on 32. I really did. I think her other games, kind of faded into the background a little bit. 32, I really loved her game in Karong. But it's really, it's looking rough here. Dare I say, it's making me almost think like, is this a version of Aubry that people were seeing on the island in 32 that made people want to vote for Michelle? Like,
maybe.
I'm being honest. Like, it's honestly making me think like, I do think that was in quote unquote a bitter jury, but I don't want to discredit Michelle's game. Like Michelle played a very good social game, but like, is this the version of Aubry that people were getting out there that just, they were like, we might have seen it at home, but the jurors were like, what is this woman doing? Like, I don't know. It's just very odd. And she's just not the same person. So in a weird way, I think this is giving me a lot of clarity as to why maybe Michelle got those votes in a pretty overwhelming way.
Yeah. It was a bad play in the moment, and it was a bad strategy long term because there's still 13 players left in the game. So there's going to be vote splits. They're not just going to dogpile 12 votes on you. Mm-hmm. And so with the calculus of vote splits in play, they're not going to be able to just vote for you to flush your idol.
Yeah.
And if you're that worried about it, play it next week. This week they were going for D.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me ask you something. Now, I don't think this is happening because they didn't show it. Being that she played her idol incorrectly, that doesn't boomerang back, right? It's only if she got voted out with her in her pocket.
Correct.
So I'm confused as to why Christian and Devins even wanted her to play it.
Like, yeah, it just goes back in the woods now. Yeah.
It's not going to come back to them. So
No,
it just all didn't add up to me. I just think even the way Christian and Devin's like, well, I can't believe you didn't play it. Like you should have played it. It's like, okay, for what reason? Like, vote her out. Vote her
exactly.
out without it, and then you will get it back.
Exactly.
Like,
What are they doing?
convince her to stay, convince her to not use it, and then vote her out, and you will get the idol. The irony is the boomerang ability is done with Rizzo and Ozzy's because Genevieve's gone.
Right.
So the only one who would actually get it back is Christian and Devins.
Made no sense.
Yeah, it's all confusing.
So, all right, my friend. I can't believe it. We are already 15 days in. There's only 11 actual days of gameplay to go.
Can't believe that.
I know. And the game's wide open. It really is. I think, there's a couple, like Aubry, for example. I think she's not exactly built a resume that's going to distinguish herself.
Yeah.
And you're at an interesting phase because I do, and I think Coach was laying this on thick. I do worry about the jury that gets built. It's going to have a lot of loyalty people on it. And so even if you get them out of the game, you can tell that's going to they're going to come together like magnets and coalesce around the idea of are you an honorable winner of Survivor Season 50?
Remember when I said last week about what is the way that Cirie gets there and Cirie wins? I think if you sit on a jury with two loyal honor and integrity people, so you take two people from the jury and you now have them sitting next to you, so there's really only three of them up there, and then people who are on the jury who don't really respect that type of game are voting for the people who actually made moves, I think that third person wins.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I think it could be, I think the move could be to sit next to a Coach and a Joe, because Joe's not really done much. So sit next to Coach, sit next to Joe, and that third person might have a ticket to $1 million.
Yeah, but very much so. I could see that. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. Be very curious how we also get down to 3 people at this point, because they got to start to get a little hustle in their bustle here.
I know. We will soon see.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much for hopping on.
Thank you, Kevin. As always, I loved getting the invite back so soon, and I'm ready whenever you are to have these conversations. I love it, and we're just getting warmed up.
Yeah, seminal moment. We had to say goodbye to D. We had to confront this Zoom alliance. We're coming for it.
It needed to be addressed.
So, it's funny. This has been filmed for 6 months now. I talk about it like somehow I'm going to get a message out to Fiji. Cirie, you've got to take it down.
I know.
She's sitting at home watching this edit. She knows what happened. She's probably already knows she got the $1 million.
I hope. Let's hope. Let's hope.
We're not there yet, but it is going to be a fascinating decision for her whether to stick with Rizzo and Ozzy or not.
I know.
It's not going to be the best thing for her to sit next to those two at the end, especially Rizzo. Rizzo's too good with the words.
I think sitting next to Rizzo really isn't going to be her best move. So I don't know. I'm interested. To see what happens, because the relationship's going to have to break.
I hope if we get Coach, Cirie, and Jonathan as the final 3, that's going to be spicy. Mr. Jeff, can I say a word?
Jonathan are there, but the way I would be so invested, I just told you, I want Cirie to win desperately, and I want Coach to lose.
You need somebody to root against. Exactly.
I'd be more on edge than I was watching the Super Bowl with the Seahawks. I mean, this would be nuts, but it's a fun thing to see, and I'm entertained. The boot order, I've been I miss some of these people, but at the end of the day, my core Cirie, my number 1, is still there, who I wanted to win this whole time, of my dream winner. So I'm rooting for her. Listen, if she can get there, you can get all the boot order out anywhere else. If she's there at the end, it's all worth it.
Nice. All right, my friend. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Have a good one, Kevin.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. That is it for the pod. I want to thank everyone out there who listened in. If you like this pod, feel free to subscribe or share wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back next week with an all new episode. You can follow me on YouTube and on Instagram at Kevin's Ketchup is my handle. We'll be back all next week with a whole new episode. Survivor Season 50. It's amazing. 15 days down, 11 days to go, 13 players left in the game, 10 more eliminations till we get to Final Tribal. It is going fast now. We'll be back next week. Thank you. Adios. Bye-bye.